Welcome, everyone, to the Treasure of Glory podcast. I'm your host, James, and I appreciate you tuning in. You can visit my website at treasureofglory.com, where you will find blog articles on a wide range of topics and 2 free e-courses. And there's plenty of material there that will keep you busy. You can also check out my YouTube channel. Just look for Treasure of Glory Ministries on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find it. So we've been talking about politics, everybody's favorite topic. The topic that everybody's an expert on now. A topic that everybody can talk about except conservative Christians. We're punished for our beliefs. If we speak out against what's going on in our culture, we get punished. We get backed into a corner. We get censored. We get assaulted. We get fired. So why would we do this? I believe we are living in the last of the last days, and it's quite possible that we will see the rise of the beast in our lifetime. And yes, I know all Christians have thought that and said that, but all the signs are pointing toward it. Now, when I say rise of the beast, what in the world does that mean? What is a beast, and where is this beast going to rise from? Now, when you hear the word beast, you're probably not thinking about a dog or a cat or some domesticated animal. You're probably thinking about some ferocious animal like a bear or a lion. And that's good because I want you to think of that, because that's very appropriate in this context. So to explain what I mean by beast, let's go to the book of Daniel and see how the Bible uses this term, because it's really not talking about animals, although we're going to see animals in these visions that Daniel is given. But then we're going to be given the interpretation of the vision, and we're going to see what these beasts represent. And then we'll tie it all together, and I'll tell you what I mean by the beast is rising. All right, so let's go to Daniel chapter 7. We're going to start in verse 2. Daniel declared, "I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea." Now, I want you to remember this sea because we're going to see this again when we go to Revelation chapter 13 and we talk about the final beast. But notice that Daniel sees beasts coming up out of the same sea. For so many years, I taught and believed that the sea here in Daniel and Revelation represented the sea of humanity. And this was based on Revelation 17:15. Well, this is only partly true. It is true in the sense that all world leaders throughout history, including the heads of Daniel's beasts and the antichrist on the final beast, will arise from humanity. But there is more being said here when we see beasts rising up out of the sea. The Bible is trying to communicate something. So Daniel is not seeing a beast literally come up out of the sea like the Mediterranean Sea, or even the primordial sea where, according to the mythology of the ancient Near East, chaos monsters like sea dragons and sea serpents lived. In the ancient world, the forces of chaos were often characterized by darkness and the raging seas. So Daniel is simply borrowing from these concepts to say that the beast has an evil origin. The forces of chaos and evil are the source of this beast's power. We know that Daniel is not talking about a literal sea here because he's going to interpret later what this all means. So let's go on in Daniel's vision. "And 4 great beasts came up out of the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Then as I looked, its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and the mind of a man was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second one, like a bear. It was raised up on one side. It had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and it was told, 'Arise, devour much flesh.' After this I looked, and behold, another, like a leopard, with 4 wings of a bird on its back. And the beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, terrifying and dreadful, and exceedingly strong. It had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stomped what was left with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another horn, a little one, before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, In this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Okay, so there we have the vision. Now let's go to verse 17 of this same chapter, and now we will be given the interpretation. How are we to understand these beasts? All right, so here's what it says. These four great beasts are four kings who shall arise out of the earth. Well, there you go. That solves it right there. These beasts are not even real beasts. They're symbolic. They represent kings. And notice that they did not come up out of the sea, they came up out of the earth. So when a beast rises up out of the sea, what's happening? A king is rising from among the people of the world. And this is exactly what we're going to see in Revelation 13. So tuck that away for a while, because we're going to come back to that. Now here's another important piece of the puzzle. A few verses later, the beast is also called a kingdom. Look at verse 23. It says, "As for the fourth beast, there shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all the kingdoms, and it shall devour the whole earth, and trample it down, and break it to pieces." Now, I want you to really underline this in your mind. In verse 17, we are told the beasts are kings, and in verse 23, we are told they are kingdoms. So which one is it? Is it a king or a kingdom? Well, it's the same thing, a king over his kingdom. So what the Bible is trying to say here, when it says that they come up out of the sea, it means that these are kings that rule over these kingdoms, and they are satanically inspired and empowered. They are evil rulers with evil empires, and to God, they are wild beasts. So the first beast that Daniel sees in verse 4, that was like a lion, represented Babylon. The second beast that was a bear represented Medo-Persia. The third beast that looked like a leopard, Greece. The fourth beast, Daniel does not give a specific animal. He just says that this beast is different from all the others. But we know this beast is Rome, because Rome followed the Grecian Empire historically. And this is where Revelation chapter 13 picks up, that says, "And I saw a beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads." Now this beast was Daniel's fourth beast, the one that he did not identify. The reason he didn't identify it is because it was a combination of all the beasts before it. If you notice John's description of the beast in Revelation 13:2, he says it has the head of a lion, the feet of a bear, and the body of a leopard. All the beasts that Daniel saw wrapped up into one beast. Now, if you want to know about the 10 horns and the crowns and all of that, watch my YouTube video where I went through Revelation chapter 13, and I go into a lot more detail about this beast. So what John is seeing here in Revelation 13 is the final beast, the final empire, where the Antichrist will rule over the world. And this beast is rising. Now, the beast, in a way, has been rising for thousands of years. The spirit of Antichrist working and working through the political realm and through the spiritual realm to prepare the masses for the arrival of the Antichrist. So Satan has been working since the beginning to make this beast rise. And he's using politics and religion more than anything else to do it. Why? Because nothing influences people like politics and religion. Why do you think people become so passionate and unhinged or angry when they talk about politics or religion? That's something that's very close to people's hearts. So the devil knows one of the best ways to get people on his side is to get everybody in his political camp or religious camp. And he uses deception to do this. You know, the devil is very much involved in our politics, and we talk about this all the time, and it's the spirit of Antichrist. Now, I'm going to say something that's probably going to make some people mad, but I've come this far, so I might as well keep going. But I really believe that we will see the Antichrist or the beast rise through the political left because they create the right environment for an Antichrist person. Think about the Democrat Party agenda. They are anti-God, anti-prayer, they're for abortion, they're for open borders, which means they're for globalism. And Christians are opposed to globalism because we know what's coming. We know there will be a final one-world empire with one man ruling over the world. So we're very, very resistant when we see politicians move us in that direction. If you've ever wondered why the political right has a hard time with open borders and globalism, that's why. We understand where world history is going. We know the tendency of human beings to consolidate power in one person or group. We know better than to fall for all the kumbaya and let's just come together in unity and peace. That's not going to happen. We know realistically that there will be no peace until the Prince of Peace returns. All this fake peace that all these world leaders talk about, it's not going to happen, and we're not falling for it. Now, I know it seems like I pick on the Democrat Party, and I'm not saying that every registered Democrat is a demon or an antichrist spirit. But if you look at the Democrat Party, it is clearly way more antichrist than the Republican Party. Now, I know they would never admit that, and they would never say that, but it's true, and we know it's true. Because look at their platform. What do they promote? They promote open borders, all in the name of love. They march to the drumbeat of globalism, whether they know it or not. They're under the hypnotic spell of the Antichrist spirit, so they want open borders. They want globalism. They want a one-world system. Well, if you read the Bible, you know where that's headed. It's not going to be good, especially for Jews and Christians. So conditions on the earth are ripening for the appearance of the Antichrist. And as we get closer and closer to that time, we're going to see more and more persecution. We're going to see more and more censorship. We're going to see more and more Christian businesses get shut down. We're going to see Christians called bigots and homophobes and all kinds of names. That's what's happening right now in our culture. They're trying to censor us. They're trying to shut us up. Because if we preach against sin, we're called bigots. And all of this is leading to the Antichrist. And the Democrat Party has no idea that they're part of all of this. They don't know that they're being manipulated and used to help bring about the Antichrist agenda. And many of them call themselves Christians. But they have become so wrapped up in the politics of our day that they can't see the Antichrist agenda working in their own party. And it's the same for the Republicans. I'm not saying the Republican Party is the Christian party. We have plenty of our own problems, and we have to make sure that we keep that spirit of Antichrist in check and we keep it pushed down. We know what it is, and we won't allow it to rise within our own ranks. Unfortunately, on the left, they have allowed the spirit of Antichrist to become the dominant voice. And that's quite unfortunate because if this continues, it's going to gain more and more momentum. And through the use of the news media and our universities, more and more people will get sucked into this agenda. And that's what's going to lead to the eventual rise of the beast. You just wonder, how could the world worship one man and be okay with all of this? Well, it happens slowly. It's gradual. We're not just going to wake up one day and bam, the Antichrist is here. No, this stuff has been in the works for centuries. The spirit of Antichrist has been preparing the people for centuries, for millennia, for what's coming. And as Christians, we need to push back against this and see it for what it is. Because the left is being manipulated and used by the Antichrist spirit. They're promoting this stuff and they don't even know it because it's packaged as noble and moral and justice. They're falling for it. It's a trap. So we need to speak up and we need to help people. We need to educate people when they will listen. Of course, most of them don't listen. They're so closed-minded and blind, they don't want to hear anything we have to say. But we have to try. So Christians, as the beast rises, we have a job to do. It's to preach the gospel. It's to share the gospel. It's to get light into this dark culture. And again, if we just sit back and be quiet, and we don't allow God to use us, we're just letting the spirit of Antichrist rise more and more. And if this keeps happening, eventually all these prophecies that we read about will come to pass. Maybe it'll happen in our lifetime. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But it could. And if it does, we need to be ready. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for today. I will see you in the next episode. God bless.